GM. GM. We'll wait probably another minute or so, then we'll probably actually start. One bars about possible force majeure on oil supplies. Yeah. You guys should definitely be following oil pretty closely. Oil and gas. I mean, I saw earlier Qatar had like a force majeure on LGN. LNG, I mean. And that's not great. Essentially means they're not obligated to fulfill certain contracts. And that's... Are we dead? No, not yet. I mean, it's certainly getting to the point, I think, where the market starts to have some actual view. Since then, it's kind of been pretty neutral, I would say. I mean, you can start seeing it in futures. I don't know what I did here. I'll save that. Yeah, so like futures has essentially reversed the entire move, right, and made another lower low, right? That has essentially priced out the entire move that we had earlier in the week, and the sentiment around that, which was essentially markets were kind of gauging if maybe de-escalation or some kind of end war agreement by end of the week. There was that 1 month kind of thing floated around, which was like no strikes on energy, on like energy plants within Iran. I think that's pretty lukewarm, to be honest. You think BTC can hold 66k? I mean, it's trying to. We swept pretty decent like bid liquidity. We got a shit ton of shorts coming in. I mean, I would say these two here are probably actual longs. So, opposed to this exposure going down, as well as the algos that were obviously shorting into market, most positioning here is definitely short. For us to like bounce is going to take, I think, equities bouncing. That might be, I don't know, like a one to couple hour move. One more bullshit tweet. Yeah, probably. I mean, I noticed he put out some bullshit tweet. I think it was what, yesterday or the day before, and the only market it's really impacting is energy. Like you see these big wicks, right? That was basically all it affected. I have Trump fatigue. Yeah, I do. I think everyone does. Taco Trade getting fatigued. Yup. Yeah, I think the general consensus by Friday today is the market does not care what Trump says anymore. It's going to go from over expectation on Trump delivering on something to Trump under delivering, and that's what the market's going to price in more. And we can see that if we go to like VIX futures, or if we go directly to VIX itself. You can see VIX is trading around 29. It was 30. It opened at 30 initially. And if we go to like higher time frame, every time we go around 30, it's typically a pivot point in the market. So you can see up here, this obviously was related to tariffs. Like, every single time. Like typically around like 30, 27, the market starts to short VIX. I think they're probably long VIX this one time. Boy, cried wolf, as in Trump, yeah, pretty much. You know what? We'll actually go out to what I've filtered at. Oh, it should be larger now. Max bound. Change that to 20 mil. 15. Yeah, so what's different clearly between this drop here is like from we had that dead cat into 76, right? And then we traded all the way down to like 69. Um, long exposure was essentially tanked. You can see that with the overall like decline in OI. And then it was pretty much like neutral in terms of the market basically chasing bounces and then getting stopped out on like dips, right? Now on this time, we can see macro terms like overall, which essentially means like above 50 to 60% of the general impact in terms of delta and OI when you combine the two. There is probably something like 1.5 or 2 shorts per one long, which essentially means the market is becoming more net short. So that's a key difference between the previous drop, right? And that I think that's a key point to have, especially when you go to like the higher time frame charts, right? So we have this is the one day we'll go to the 4 hour. GM Richard. All right, so this was previous demand, essentially. We're trading in it now, and it's also the of the value area. It's the value area low, and essentially that essentially just means it's like a pivotal point, right? So closing the 4 hour, I think probably 2 times below like 67, 68, would essentially then lock in a more net short bias of the market. So like bounces are probably likely to be sold and shorted. You ever considered gold fix for commodities? Um, well, like pricing on gold, you mean? Or is that like an actual tech? I haven't looked at it. Oh, the gold volatility index. Yeah, this actually might be alpha, to be honest. I've never looked at this. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is a pretty good market stress index, actually. Because the last times we've actually had considerable like upwards trend in the volatility of gold. That was obviously going into the GFC, right? And then obviously lower volatility because people got out of the gold trade, and there was obviously bailouts and other shit. Um, and then this obviously would have been because of the massive deleveraging and the margin calls related to the COVID crash. Yeah, correct. Which is interesting in the past like 2 weeks, the volatility in commodities has not been typical at all. Like for one, half of the reason gold is down is supposedly because of Turkey selling a shit ton of gold. That could be part of it. I think it's mostly to do with like swaps, bonds, and yields. Essentially, because yields have been ripping higher, most of the market thinks inflation is going to become entrenched again, which essentially means they're going to start pricing hikes before the central banks even start hiking. So that becomes on top of the already tight, like somewhat tightened conditions financially. Those conditions are going to tighten even more. And that creates a situation of flight to cash. One for the yield on top of the cash, especially USD in this case, but also because assets depreciate comparably to cash, including gold. I think it's probably a buy the dip opportunity when it comes to specifically gold. Because I mean the inflation like wind from this is going to be exponential for capital markets. Yeah, I mean we kind of had that bounce in commodities, but it still looks not like a bottom to me. But I think below like 4K would be the area to start buying. I also compare it a lot to. I mean, I don't think we'll get a situation like this, but it's also possible at the same time. Like gold ran up essentially from 2019, and obviously through 2020 and 20 and somewhat 2021. Over the because of the expectation of deflation to inflation, as well as obviously back then you had money printing. Um, that's also another probable topic to keep an eye out on. Like I do think like genuinely there's going to be some kind of intervention at this point when it comes to like global yields. Like every single time, the 10-year specifically has ripped up on like all of them. They've done some kind of intervention to keep yields back down. Global equities. DAX is starting to reprice. Overall, they do not look good. Uh, yep, so for crypto, I made this index to essentially. I put like the three, what I consider the majors, which is like Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol. And you can see all three are essentially. I mean, we had a decent trend for a period across all of them, which was, like you had higher lows and then high highs. And this low in particular is pretty important because, like, we could squeeze, but to, I think, reclaim a bullish trend, we'd have to be back above 70K. In the current picture, I don't see that happening personally. So it's kind of, I think, protect capital at this point. I feel like he needs to do something soon. Yeah. I mean, maybe. I kind of get the feeling that the Trump family's probably short markets, to be honest. And the reason I say that is whenever Trump says something in particular when it comes to market expectations, it typically alludes to how they're positioned, actually, right? Like, I think it was around the tariffs. He said basically something about the market should be higher, right? And then markets obviously went higher. And he said yesterday he thinks markets should actually be lower, and obviously now the markets have moved lower. And I think like obviously the people aware of this are aware that it's just alluding to their positioning. So it's a insider's market, right? Think if there's a ground invasion over the weekend, we see. Yeah, okay, so anything over the weekend, I think like first and foremost, it's probably going to be some kind of like big bombing campaign if there's no confirmation of anything today. Like if it's really, really quiet today, that they're going to do something, I think, pretty big this weekend. I'd be surprised if they don't. To even get like troops on the ground, men on the ground, they have to go through the defensive measures that the IRGC's put along the overall like Gulf area. What is the order flow footprint indicator using? I'll show you. It is. I mean, it's just called volume footprint, so you can just type in footprint, and this is essentially what I use. So if it's a like USDT contract, since everything's typically done in like dollars, then I use the delta, and I use 1 or 3 ticks per bar. Yeah, dude, they've been posting some weird cryptic shit. It's kind of like an edgy, like I don't know, like edgy COD player gets a hold of their account and he's like tweeting random cryptic crap that they're gonna like drop like a montage video or something like that. These kinds of de-risking happen before something major. Well, I think volatility moving up like it did and yields today. That tells me the big players in the market know something's coming and they got out. What platform do you use for order flow? Typically, Kayataka, just because it has everything that I need built into it, which is essentially like open interest, CVD, order book, imbalance, like if I go to the main chart, which is a combination of spot and perps. Like order book depth is pretty good to use. There we go, it's nicer. Yeah, I mean, we can see we technically have pretty good order book depth here, but other good alter. Yeah, correct. MMT is probably better. Yes, Spiffy, I agree. MMT. Since yeah, I think like take this specifically. This area, the like most of this was actually longs, and they essentially got filled, and then they got wrecked on the way down, like unironically, which is kind of funny. But at the same time, like even this dip here, there are longs buying it, and you essentially can tell that because you see price is obviously lower, right? But the overall CVD is quite flat. That essentially means that is equal to longs. So the equal amount of longs to like shorts opening. And also you can tell from the funding rate from the period, from obviously price going a lot lower, to then obviously price is still going lower, but you can see the funding rate is moving higher. So there's dip buyers. I used to use chart actually. I haven't in a while. Though I hear that TPO is better. Um, Trying to knife catch, probably. I don't see the point in knife catching until like equities at least look good. What made you switch? Um, I mean, honestly, I think when it comes to trading with like market data, you want like a platform or software that encompasses everything, which is easy to run, it's lightweight, it's accurate enough to trade with. This one is. I mean, Velo is pretty good. I think the heat map is better on this, but I think the data is better on Velo, which is a bit ironic. Yeah, I remember asking EXO years ago to do a heat map. Um, Back then, it was difficult to do. I think a bit tricky. We'll see. Yeah, yeah. So when the market opens important. For instance, if the VIX is like low and equities, specifically like Nasdaq, has momentum and tech looks good, that's when you can obviously buy dips during the New York Open and hours. However, when VIX or volatility indexes open higher and tend to trend higher, especially around the open, you probably want to like sit on hands and watch like the first 1 to 2 hours, because if you see a rotation lower in the volatility indexes, which essentially means like VIX moving lower, right? So like right now it's not, but if we see VIX start closing below like 27, I'll probably say 27, then you could then look for like a reversion trade later on. But like right now, I think it's a bit early. Weekend should provide a better setup. Maybe. I think if there is going to be a erosion trade, it'll probably be just before futures open. And even then, that's a complete coin flip, statistically, right? Typically, if there is a reversion, it's for one reason, and it's to blow out shorts before continuation during the week, especially in the current market like regime. What educational info? Um, that's a good question. Maybe what I probably need to do is make like a short guide, like an infographic or blog post or something like that, and then I can cover essentially the the basics, as well as like usable divergences or something like that. And then I can push that, and I think that'd probably be a pretty good starting point for like most when it comes to utilizing these kinds of like indicators and data, because it can be pretty confusing. So huge sell and sell. I think they've already been subsequently shorting oil. To be honest, it's very clear someone large is shorting the shit out of the front contracts. So CL. Like quite literally every single time. we've gone around 98. Someone starts shorting it. There's also apparently the Bank of Japan or the Treasury of Japan wants to start using leverage to short. So they're going to leverage their fund to short oil futures, which is really stupid. Yeah, sure. Whenever CL is above 100 and yields go up, the orange man sends out some bullshit. Yeah, I mean, as much as like a percent is good, um, quite frankly, it is very retarded to be shorting futures, especially given the impact. There's like currently there is what like infinite, mathematically near infinite demand, right, for oil, but finite supply, which mathematically that means price exponentially goes higher. They learnt from Carolina. Yeah, true. What was it? 22? 22. I'll sell you everything at 20. Sell me everything at 22 or something like that for fucking FTT. He just shouldn't messengers for us. I suppose. I mean, the whole 5 day thing. Someone made like a funny comparison between Caroline and Trump regarding that the other day. I mean, it's kind of accurate in terms of the psychology. This is that delta's a short, like a limit short, by the way. When you start seeing stuff like that and OI grow a lot, you're starting to see a little bit of panic, I think. It's only like 200 BTC though. I'm watching this low for now. Like, I guess around 66. If we return to that, it's either going to be like a good short opportunity, like scalp wise for lower, or if we grind into it with some like strength, it'd be a nice squeeze opportunity. Yeah, yeah, it was. What's the name? I saw that yesterday as well. They sold, what was it, 1.5 billion. I think they actually sold it to Sailor, so that's a bit funny. Yeah, 15k. Algorithmic self. Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is pretty algo. Trump ad saying he's getting bored of it. Wait, are you serious? Is that actually a headline? Mario. Yeah, yeah, Mario Holdings. Ooh, Michigan, 1 year. Yeah, obviously that's going to be higher. Two Chinese container ships returned after attempting to leave the Gulf. Oh yeah. I think most are ignoring this headline, by the way, but it's actually pretty important. So the steel manufacturing part is, I mean, steel, as you know, like since World War II, is very important when it comes to anything military. And the reason why they're hitting that is so they can't increase production, essentially. So then Iran has to go to Russia. That's a new front to keep an eye on. I think if Russia decides to treat Iran as a proxy war, which they kind of have been already, but if they send like troops or something like that, then it becomes very close to like a World War III situation. Unclash report. He wants to move it. Yeah, I think. I think. I mean, look, it's obvious. Everyone thinks this. U.S. shouldn't have gotten involved in a war they didn't need to be in. Now they've gotten themselves into a situation they can't get out of easily because it's pretty clear Iran doesn't want to negotiate. They want their terms met, and US is the exact same. So it's literally the same as like China US tariff crap that we had last year. China had put restrictions on growth. Yeah. I mean, yeah. One thing that I notice as well in metals is copper. Like relative wise, copper being has been. I mean, obviously it's down because USD's up, but copper is likely to increase. I think. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I think say the US is like pulled out now, right? It would probably be the signal for like Iran to either lob like a dirty bomb at Israel or the Gulf. I haven't seen many talk about this, but the longer the war drags on, there's increasing probability of someone throwing a dirty bomb at someone. I also don't want to fearmonger, so I haven't spoken on it too. Come on, can you get to a box? Yeah, I mean, gold as I think this is a consolidation probably. Gold definitely isn't selling off as much as it did anymore, and it's probably the early rotation from at least partially from cash to gold in terms of the inflation trade. Since session open, there's been pretty sizable passive spot sell on Binance. But okay. What there's been yeah. Yeah. I mean, whenever you see this in like the CVD and you see like pretty weak price action, that's a massive um like passive seller, essentially, yeah. Always happens before price drops. And now we're seeing the typical, like this is probably to do with ETFs. This is what it's been like previously. Is like you see this like pretty algorithmically driven selling, which is just like clips and clips and clips get sold into market price. Yeah, like Sam, yeah. See that? And then clear weakness, like absolutely very clear supply. And obviously price drops. Happens every time. Cutting risk for, yeah, yeah. I mean, the general consensus is, I guess someone's shorting into that. That was a short. Nice. Bonus if you zoom on 1 minute, you can see the massive market buy being absorbed. Yeah, yeah. Well, that was probably it. 1 hour, 22 minutes till we close. Yeah, I mean, if we close here, I'm not going to be surprised if CT becomes really bearish. Also want to check total 3. Minus stablecoins, yeah. Yeah, it's like bearish retest. Basically bounces being sold. Alts. Probably, I mean, sweeping like these lows. Even if we go below this, probably DCA into some good alts is what I think. I mean, I don't know what Bitcoin would be at that point. Like macro wise, I'm looking at buying some high quality alts and Bitcoin if we have continuation lower below 60k. Interesting. It's only high. Ah, it's hype outperforming again. Kinda. This is also precarious to buy, in my opinion, because like you had like strong move up, rejection of 42, not great, lower high, and then like whatever the heck here. Technically, this is the higher low, but if we run that low and also lose this structure, you go into a downtrend from that point onwards. Um, but also we have the main trend here, so it's kind of like 30, 35, 36. Very key area to watch. Yeah, yeah. I mean, tokenomics wise, they have. I mean, their RWAs are the most traded, right? And I think the percentage of the fees is obviously being bought back into the token. That sounds bullish long term, and it technically is. It also will probably be liquidity for big sellers, like big holders. I mean, to then sell into, which doesn't nuke the token as much. I think we're actually seeing some longs. Yeah. But personally, I wouldn't long until we're above 66k. Uh, maybe. And what I kind of see here is we've had like the algorithmic sell off initially from the open, and then we've lost that momentum downwards. But also each bounce so far has been sold. So sells are in control. It's a question of momentum now. Hmm. Spoof, I see. Yeah, so that was a big sell. Someone bought here, probably that, a little bit lower. Uh, spoof. Yeah, someone's trying to spoof it higher. That's funny. All right, well, pretty clear. It's like 66k, basically, we watch in terms of spot pricing. Hype, yes. So to reiterate, um, hype technically has relative strength against the market. However, it's not immune to downside. Like I don't particularly see longing here as like a good risk to reward versus buying like or versus looking to long around 35. One, because you have the 4 hour and the 1 day trend, but also you would have previous support and resistance. If it breaks 65, it'd be more open. Okay, so you think it's going to run the 65 and then bounce? Wow. This is the most illiquid I think I've seen Binance Spot in a long time. I mean, 75 BTC can move price somewhat, but it's almost like algorithms don't want to touch the actual spot pair comparably to the perps. Thoughts on where BTC cycle is, maybe? Well, I think like let's if we assume, where's my trading view? If we assume, we'll clear this, take off. Nah, actually, yeah, we'll leave one. If we assume this is like a bear flag, which like that bounce and rejection of trend doesn't look great, to be honest, on the higher time frame. Looks quite shit. So that's the bear flag lows, right? And we breach it today or tomorrow. We'll probably get a bounce in the weekend. Assuming that we do like usual. Then you get like likely a similar move to that move down, which would put us at 32%. Oh shit. Okay, below. Yeah, it's like 44. I do think buying the 40k area long time is pretty good. Like for quite a while, this has been the area that I kind of want to look at buying. My reason is in terms of confluence. This was the bear market consolidation before we had the markdown move, right? And then this was the bullish consolidation in early 2024. Obviously, after we broke bear market structure, like for good, which would essentially, and it's also the sweep of the ETF lows. So I think buying that makes sense. I think the other thing I think about long term is who is going to be the massive marginal seller this time? Is it going to be the miners like usual, or is it going to be partially ETF holdings which get sold off? So we could assume cycle low of like 41k, right? And the unpriced risk to the downside is if there's a much larger seller that comes along, which we don't know about, that could push price down to maybe like 31k. I think buying 31k would be insanely good value. Like honestly, anywhere between like 44 to like 31k would be amazing. And then I think after that, obviously by like 2030, we'd hit probably 200k. But yeah, speculation. That is dubious speculation. All right. Now we got some interesting shit. All right, so we're in the 66k area. Yep, still looks like it's being spoofed higher. Now this is where it gets pretty important. Because sellers want to push down price here, essentially, to maintain control. If not, we'll likely get some sort of squeeze. I think probably towards like these highs. And then if that is also ran and then there's like strength and momentum, then we can see a move to backfill some of this, which is where there's ask supply anyway, like ask liquidity. Haven't heard any big names breaking it. Yeah, the only big seller that I think caught people's eyes was Marathon yesterday. Marathon. Yeah, this. I can't even close out. It's annoying. Yeah. Outstanding convertible debt will decline by about 30%, reducing total. Okay, yeah. So Marathon is basically distressed. I think CoinGlass has 444. Dude, yeah, if it is 44,000 of that, that would be such a meme. Data. Marathon. Simona Holdings. Does anyone have a dashboard which has their holdings on it? I don't think Arkham would have it. I may have to vibe code that. This is passive selling. Yeah. What we need to see is probably like a negative 1 mil or 2 mil, something like that. Didn't it basically? Yeah, it did 69,420. That I think I'm pretty sure that was the top. I don't know who marked it, but whoever did that's pretty funny. Yeah, okay. It seems like they're not getting fills, so they're literally having to use an algorithm to buy a market. We've seen this one before. We all know how this goes. What do you see? What makes you see the passive selling? Essentially, this positive delta, and it's literally around the same kind of size. So what typically happens is like large traders, firms, and whatnot will stack their bids and asks on top of each other, and they'll do it within like $10, $50, something like that, right? Or even like 100. And they do that essentially to bring the average exit or entry as close as possible to what they want. So they essentially use and it would be another algorithm likely doing this because it's quite high frequency, which is essentially the algorithm is offloading inventory into the best bid. That's why you get the positive delta at like the highs quite often. It's still being spoofed higher. Gold mining, actually. Oh yeah, good move on in gold. That's nice. Bitcoin is correlated to gold typically. Interesting. Yields coming back down. They might actually be trying to suppress VIX today. I mean, equity futures don't look great yet, but it closes in like a minute. So it could see a little bit of a rebound. Headline. Maybe. I think it's probably, I mean, the gold move is likely more to do with, I think, inflation expectations. Blah, 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 blah. German foreign minister found common line with US and Iran. Interesting. Probably to do with opening the Hormuz. Iran, like attackers, breach FBI. Alright then. Took a snus. Wait, isn't that nicotine? Oh wow. Okay, we're seeing the same thing from a couple days ago. This is a long. Yeah, someone's trying to absorb like all the selling here to push market higher. That's so not obvious. It's very obvious. They're long what? Like 40, 50 mil now? White House made some stupid posts again. What, from the White House account? What the fuck are these, man? That's Trump. What is this like? Is this Minecraft like pixel art? What are we in 2012? This is retarded. What the fuck is this? Launch the White House app. Live streams. Okay, so this is the whole thing they've been alluding to. This is so stupid. Something new. You know what's funny? I've made something very similar in Claude. So I know for sure they're doing all this using AI, which is very funny. I would retweet this, but I get shit for that, so I'm not retweeting that, but that's funny. No way, my hell, yeah. Yeah, it's like that one DNA app, the Ancestry. I forget which one it was. Which like if you do, if you give them your DNA, they fucking like sell that shit. Crazy. Yeah, someone's exiting a bunch of shorts. It's likely like the same whatever long is being built up here is to absorb massive shorts that they had from clown show. Yeah, agree. 23 mid. Yeah, that's the one. This is got to be the like, most obvious. Like, this is borderline retarded. In previous years, whenever someone would try to do this, you would have someone that just like straight up nukes this bid. Yeah, yeah, no. Like this spoof is keeping price up. Plus, you got a massive perp buyer that's absorbing a ton of shorts closing out. All right, yeah, we're looking at Tau last time. Are people still trading this as a like primary thing? Seems like most are short it now, actually. Like everyone was like long up here, now they're all short. Waiting to bump crude. Okay. Look, VIX is down at 27. Yeah. That tells me that they're selling vol. Probably they're gonna try cap energy to get a bounce in equities. Yeah. Like, it's around the 98 mark, yeah. They're gonna scam it up. I also see if we get a nice bounce, we'll probably get some nice bearish retests of like previous support. Bitcoin dominance is moving down. Still interesting. Crazy how we haven't yet gone below the initial out. Yeah. I think on Bitcoin, I think so, right? But on in equities, I believe we have. Yeah. Are we gonna get like a whole lot of BTC's the new hedge tweets? Yeah, like there we go. As soon as like the bid gets removed, price sells. Same shit. They bought that too. And spoof it up again. This shit's so dumb. The average entry is probably about here. The 66.1k to be specific. Unless we can nah. The one time we may have almost actually gone to zero, I was trading it too, was the COVID crash. And literally like on perp exchanges, there was like maybe 100k in terms of bids or something like that, around 3k, and it was just like fucking nothing till zero. That was like the one time it was possible that perps could have gone to zero. Definitely not today though. First 30-minute bracket. Interesting. I mean, I do think it's probably like for someone to pull this off, there would have to be something like Change Street. Yeah, yeah. Cover Crush is crazy. I do think we'll have a similar crash at some stage, um, where it's probably going to freak out a lot of people, and that'll be like the best buying opportunity in a while. This is again same bar absorbing on perps. So I can have a look at Coinbase. Nah. Sale typically they execute it like market. Like the CVD usually just goes like nuts and price goes vertical. The buying here is someone just TWAP buying on Binance Spot by the looks of it. Yeah, this is like a TWAP bar, but also you can see each time that they've done it, it's met with a passive seller, which is why you get the wick up, then red candle down. Same as here. Whereas in perps, you actually see a pretty large disconnect, which is a massive perp long open at the moment. It gets his pocket money one day. It's like when you're a kid, you get pocket money, then at least back in the day, you'd get pocket money and then you'd go to like a video game store, see what game you could buy. Keeps money safe till Friday. I don't know. Sale is built different, man. That reminds me, there's a pretty cool dashboard that they made. I think it was this. Buy some pogs. What, buy some of this shit? Yeah, we should actually check MicroStrategy. Wait, this is not my main. Oh shit. Yeah. Yeah, I think I would keep an eye on MicroStrategy today and Monday, actually. Like, to put it this way, we don't want to see, or buyers at least, don't want to see below 120. Below 120 would mean probably like 60k or lower sometime next week. Zero to, yeah. Yeah. When I was a kid, Pogs. Oh, dude, Pokemon cards are like the thing. There was like Yu-Gi-Oh, I think was the other one. Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh. Football cards were huge in the US, but not where I live. Fake candy ciggies, yeah, I remember that. I'd probably keep an eye out on the gold futures COT report regarding that. So I want to know who's long gold. Footy cards in Oz. There were footy cards. There were like what we call NRL cards. Those were from like those old. That would have been like 2009. China dumping bones, gold. Probably. China long term is a huge gold bull, and they kind of have to be because they keep killing their own currencies, so they definitely have to be, especially with like higher inflation coming. Um, I would actually really like the opportunity to short gold around here. I think it would be short term. The reason why I'd short probably would be of the consensus of like a global recession of the sort. We had Air for ones and Vic. Oh, that's kind of cool. This one guy's propping the entire market up. Still. Well, I mean, everyone was pitching that the safe havens Bitcoin the past month, right? So, I mean, watch it be an argument between gold and Bitcoin in the next week of where the safe haven is. Uh, my opinion really on safe haven is um, there is no real absolute safe haven long term if you think about it, right? Everything has its pros and cons. Um, I see safe haven more as whatever yields a positive return for like the next however so period, week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months. All depends on your time horizon and what kind of yield you're looking at chasing. Maybe it's bidding time, hoping equities bounce. I think a lot of people are hoping equities bounce. And the reason why I say that is if I go to futures again, whenever they start capping VIX, before there's obvious strength in equities, they're trying to force a bounce, especially VIX futures. But what's the safe haven? The truth is, there is no winning. It depends on it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like if you look at all the best investors of all time, which have like really really high long term returns and pretty sustainable Sharpie ratios, um, they all basically conclude like a safe haven realistically doesn't exist. However, there are good bets when it comes to general situations. Like take COVID, right? It's mass deflationary event, and your bet is essentially anything that yields positive growth. And then secondly, you bet massive on gold to protect against a devaluing cash um, cash amount, which is essentially just you bet on gold versus cash. And then obviously late 2020, the whole digital gold argument became quite, I think, global when it came to Bitcoin. And that's when like you had massive firms like 3AC was betting huge on BTC, and they were obviously right in the end, but they lost sight of their time horizon, which would have been the cause of their firm blowing up. All right, we're below 66.1. Let's see if that buyer blows up now. Yeah. Spoof is gone, basically. They're also underwater, so like at least whoever's buying. This is a technical retest of the low time lows. What's the high, the low here? If we are to get any kind of move up, like continuation of this relief, you'd want to see a bounce here. Which, like, first and foremost, you would want to see an absorption of shorts and sells in the market, which would also include spot. So we can see the CVD moving lower, right? But we would need to see sizable negative delta being bought here. And that usually takes a little bit of time. Before the, yeah, doesn't surprise me. President Trump told White House officials have been told that Iran's counterproposal to the US. Ah, okay, interesting. Well, the market's probably gonna like de-risk into that thinking escalation, right? Yeah, we got some pretty big fills there, but not the best headline. That is limit long. Just set up another target. It's for this. Yeah. Yeah. Tell our allies about possible delays. US warns Iran war may delay. Ooh. Zelensky's not going to be very happy about that. Will not deliver during April to June. Unemployment is low, but the labor market seems fragile. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I forgot to state this, but higher prices, like prices on everything going up, puts a ton of pressure on businesses because labor, like employment costs, become pretty big. So then either they start paying people less or they start laying off people, I think, in the next, probably over summer, to be honest. There's also the seasonality part of that in the US, where there's like people that get laid off around summer, as well as like less workers. But the kicker being the true weakness would be something like in August, no one's hiring and no one gets rehired. If that happens, then like that would be definitely more recessionary. And then obviously private credit is turning into a shit show if anyone's watching that. What the fuck is this, a liquid candle? Yeah, that did bring some vol. That is such a thin candle, man. I think that buyer de-risked a little bit. That's still very long though. No. I could summarize this pretty quickly as a chop. I don't think the market's gonna chase much of a bounce until the open is essentially reclaimed. That would obviously be below the open in terms of vol too. Yeah, I agree. One thing's very clear. Every time the market looks like it's about to fall off a cliff, they release some kind of statement to then get the market to de-risk in terms of betting on downside. Like specifically around 66.1, there's been a lot of absorption of selling, at least on perps. Like a lot. I think if we get a move up, that massive long is going to bail out. Probably, yeah. Yeah, I would typically think this probably is a short, but we can see limit bid here. They got filled basically. Then I think it's a passive buyer, like a limit long actually. Haven't felt much FOMO since there haven't been any good end. Yeah, yeah. I mean, chart wise, this period reminds me the most of like probably middle 2022, something like that. Yeah, yeah. I think a little higher from here, we start seeing shorts close, probably. Already seeing a little bit. Yeah, this dollar reach race. That's primarily lifting markets. Gold would probably be ripping. Gold, silver, global yields going down. Well, if that's not intervention, I don't know what it is. This looks a lot like bond market intervention. Dollar down, yields down, gold up. Wait, isn't that level like the historical place where like Japanese intervene, like around like 160? If market would go into the fall. Yeah. I mean, they did that last week, and then we saw yields rip on the open, and then Trump quite literally panicked. So yeah, these are shorts closing here now. This is shorts. The taco time. like taco to me is basically like a leader says a whole lot of shit, but then does nothing. Extension of ceasefire talk, right? Says labor, yeah, obviously not. French foreign minister, I do not want to speak on behalf of US Rubio, but Rubio suggested that the US's objective was to destroy Iran's ballistic capabilities. Didn't they only achieve like 30% of that? Yeah, he's been talking a lot about Cuba. I think it's the fact that it's not going to plan in Iran. He's starting to get like bitchy about it. Eating the same. Okay, so people are just probably memeing taco at that point. Yeah, taco's just like another like buzzword. There's one every year, I think. That's another long one. These are shorts. Still. Actually, no, we're getting some sizable. When you see like persistent, like above like 1 mil, positive delta plus OI increasing and the CVD picks up more with price, that's when you start to see people FOMO into longs. So that 4 mil probably is FOMO long. They said 90%. And yeah. Dude, even when they said the 90%, all you had to do is like open X, and then you would see like a barrage of ballistic missiles go onto someone, and you would think like, logically, if it was 90%, right? How are they still able to have the same amount like every single 4 hours or 6 hours? Doesn't make sense. I think we're seeing that big buy start to close out now, by the way. If don't reject here, we're back within days value area. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I marked on futures the open. I think for us to get there though, we still need to see like vol futures below the open. And you don't want to see the dollar being bought up. Yeah, correct. Chico, Trump always chickens out. That's the meaning of Targo. Tau going. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, there were a lot of shots on Tau, like a lot. That big buy is likely out now. Oh, the 10% is. What the, yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the 15 minute and have a look. That we're looking at now. So we had that brief reclaim of like call it 66, right? And then we ran around about pre-open shorts. Horizontal line. Actually, we'll bring it down to here. Yeah, for me, this is like the line in the sand. This horizontal between cells maintaining control to pushing, like buyers pushing for control. So round. Damn, that is tiny. What the fuck? That's a horizontal rare. What? Yeah, what is that? Yeah, so how is that meant to be a trend line? What the fuck is this? Man, they need to change these drawing tools. This shit. Okay, that's the drawing, the actual drawing tool. But yeah, to summarize the point between sellers and buyers in terms of trend, above like 66k, you would then see buyers push for control. That's like the new toolbar's absolutely atrocious. They should have just kept the old one. It's stupid. Like, what is Whisper? What the fuck is all this shit? Fuck. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have the annotation because it makes it easier to explain stuff on stream. Just 21. Okay. What, around the low, or you're talking on the top of the bounce, Richard? Heavy water research reactor. Isn't that an attack on their energy? That would be an escalation, by the way. Once the peak of hostilities is over, there will be a system of escorts for tankers. Okay, yeah, like NATO, well, most countries don't want to risk their navy because they can't risk it in the first place, especially against anti-ship missiles. Oh, right. Okay, if I go to like... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I suppose. I mean, the way I trade this, by the way, is it's like a cloud, basically, right? So the rejection of the cloud typically isn't good. It basically means rejection is trend. However, the moment you like accept, back into it, you can basically trend to the top of it, and then you typically get like really nice scalps around the actual like trend EMA. For Nicola, yeah, I thought so. That's not good at all. Release budget. Blah, blah. Yeah. If Cell's gonna try to do anything, it's now. Given that headline and plus the sweep of this area, essentially. The point where I would look for longs again is like above these highs. We got polos as well. Yeah. Is anyone trading alts as well? Like besides Tau? It looks like most people are still trading this. Probably retail mainly with like limited size. Wait, gold is up. Was oh, yeah, like yeah, true. I mean, I'll have a look at hype. I mean, not hype, Bitcoin. I mean, nice sweep, but until the trend is reclaimed, I wouldn't probably touch it. But once this is reclaimed, it'll like rip. That's what it always does. Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. You're right. Want to know if sub 10 is a thing or not. I mean, BTC losing the lows, yeah, definitely. That's pretty clean. Yeah, okay. I guess the setup for this, if I was to trade it, probably short here, but you could scalp long trend up to here and short, assuming there's, the rejection of previous lows. They will fill the 10 to 10 at some point. I mean, I don't see why not. Certain coins probably not, because I mean some of the wicks legit went to like almost zero on some shit coins, so it's not possible. But on a lot of them probably, yeah, especially in like a deep bear market. What's my trend cloud indie called? I think I've posted it before. Yeah, the Atom Wick. I think that was the one that went to 0 or whatever. Tell you what, post stream, I will post my indicator. And I think all you have to do is like favorite it. 0, 0, 0, 0. Yeah, that's fucked. That's cooked. Yeah, we're seeing more shorts come in now. And then on any upside, the shorts close, basically. No risk of radiation leak. Right, I'll have one look at futures and then decide if I'm gonna wrap it up or not. Shit, whoops. Looks like they're being offered. Dollar bounce. Probably reacting to the power plant hit. This is like the most messy markets have been since like 2020, I think. Like I remember in April to May, it was about a 1 to 2 months, like April, May, June. The markets were extremely choppy. Energy's trying to go up higher too. What I'll probably do is wrap it up. I got some stuff to do. I'll post my indicator uh, below the stream tweet, probably, and then probably check in on markets in like 2 to 3 hours, especially going into close and see where things are at. It looks more choppy than practical at this point. Uh, the ribbon one. No worries, guys. Chop around until market close. Yeah, dude. If he drops another tweet post close, man. Uh Speaking of, there's always an inside trader. Like every single time there's an inside trade. So like keep an eye out on like some stupid if there's a like massive long or something like that or like a short, I'll probably tweet it too. Um because they always inside trade before they release a tweet. But yeah, see you guys probably Monday, and don't try not to get liquidated, guys, or just don't get liquidated. Don't lose your accounts like 1,000 cuts, which is just like choppy trading. Last tweets, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much what I said at the start of the stream. I think like the market thinks one, he's just full of shit, and two, he's stupid. But yeah, catch you guys on the next one.